Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. This is a Wednesday, September 13th, the 2017 edition, just a little bit after 8:15. Welcome to our little program that we do every Wednesday night. And if you've seen last night on social media, or maybe even today, it is our 200th episode. We were kind of reminiscing about that last night in chat. We couldn't believe, Ricky, that this thing would last 200 shows. You and I have been on every single one of them, so really cool to have that, and we look forward to having 200 more shows. So tonight we're talking about meteorologists going through the process, starting off in school and moving through the career to maybe broadcast or National Weather Service or private sector. So tonight we have Bobby Stillwell on from the St. Louis University and Alex Herbst on from Mississippi State University. They are both students right now, and they're going to be joining us here in just a little bit, kind of talk about their progression through school and maybe what's next for them as they graduate. But this is a live program, so if you are watching tonight and you have any questions for Bobby or Alex or any of our panelists, please feel free to submit those. One of several ways you can do that on Twitter at Carolina WX Group. You can also post on our Facebook page. We do not have James here, but we do have all of our streaming devices up thanks to Jared and his quick training today. So monitor us on Facebook Live or Periscope. So if you have any questions, we'll be following those accounts as well. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, maybe a couple of days from now, we'll let our guests at the end of the show share their social media accounts so you can interact with them if you have any questions. So that is kind of our intro and all the housekeeping stuff. It has been a very busy week for us here in the Southeast. I was telling the guys, and I think they all kind of agree with me, it's kind of like we've hit a wall. We've been doing so much with Irma and forecasting over the past 7 to 10 days. It's finally caught up to us all, and it's like we've hit a wall and don't want to talk about weather anymore, but we must because that is our job. So I am going to bring in Mr. Jared Smith. Jared, you were the closest to Irma, I guess Irma's impacts as she moved up as the storm moved up the Florida Peninsula. You seen a lot of active weather there in the Charleston area over the past few days.
I wasn't busy at all. No, it was actually really quiet. Just nice little breeze, a little bit of rain, a little bit of, some people surfing down the street. No big deal. Monday was, that was quite a day. It looks like a little over 4 foot of storm surge. Numerous possible tornadoes. Was in and out of Periscope quite a bit, doing live coverage on that. Nothing like running down tornadoes during a tropical system. You know, you really have to set that storm relative motion. It's been quite a day, quite a week. A lot of stations with over 8 to 9 inches of rain, kind of overperforming on the forecast a little bit. So Irma was, I'm glad that's over. It's been a nice couple days since then, though. We've been generally in the low 80s. A little bit breezy, but not too bad. Nothing really hindering our efforts to kind of drain out and dry out and get stuff cleaned up. I'm looking forward to a few more calm days ahead. Going to trend up a little bit as the ridge builds back in. Going to get in the mid 80s, so not too bad for September. Maybe a little less football-like than I'd like, but we'll get over it.
I must first unmute myself before I want to talk. But yeah, not too bad at all in Charleston. So thanks for thanks for that, Jared. Yep. Normally we talk about Charleston weather with Shay Gibson as well, but Shay, you was not in Charleston. You went to the North Carolina high country where I live. So I'm going to let you talk about the weather you experienced over the past few days up here in the North Carolina mountains.
Yeah, cool and wet up in the mountains. It was gorgeous the first couple of days. I mean, it really, we took precautionary evacuation measures a couple of days ahead of time. Rooms were starting to fill up upstate South Carolina into the mountains. So we grabbed the first chance we got on a deal for a cabin up near Linville Falls, North Carolina. It was absolutely beautiful up there. Couldn't have asked for better weather. It got a little bit blustery the other night, Monday night into Tuesday. Got pretty windy. A few trees came down here and there. We had one on the way out this morning. I think one lingering tree fell over the road that comes into our cabin. But overall, just dealing with the traffic getting out of Charleston. But I got to meet up with Scotty at the McDowell County Emergency Management Operations Center, and that was a great experience. Director William Keller gave me a warm welcome and a tour of the facility, which was great. The comms there are very, very streamlined. These guys are on top of it up there, and we had a National Weather Service conference call, and everyone was in tune. It was a great experience. I got to meet some new faces in the weather communities up that way, and Scotty Powell as well. My first time actually meeting him from out at the show. But yeah, we did pretty well. It felt great. It's really good weather. But looking down, I kept trying to hop in where I could in reception and feed in some of the newest information on Irma. And I tell you, we had extensive flooding in the Charleston area. Just a 10-foot high tide. Some of the earlier predictions were about 2 feet higher at 12 feet, and it luckily came down. Luckily, Irma took more of a northwesterly track. That was all based mainly on the GFS for the slosh. Well, I think the slosh has a couple of other models built into that, but the ET surge model I was looking at was showing 12 feet at one point, and that was wow. So I think Charleston now fully understands or comprehends what a 10-foot tide could do, and that's not even with a hurricane incoming. This was from a tropical storm very far away. So I know a lot of people had some damages, and we hope that they get their homes back in order and get their properties back in order. But I'll turn it back over to you, Jared. I mean, we don't want to go too much. We do have some guests tonight, so I want to turn it back over to Jared for our overall climate. Did you already cover the climate for Charleston area?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we're all good there, man.
Okay, back to you, Scotty.
Still mid-80s.
I'm lost. I'm just like you with brick wall. I'm just my brain's.
I totally understand. Let's go to well, he normally is in East Tennessee, but he's actually home on the Virginia coast. Let's bring in Ricky Matthews. And Ricky, you guys also felt a little impacts of Irma as the storm moved off to your west.
Yeah, in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, we saw some gusts at 30 miles per hour. I did a live shot, and I called it hat blowing off weather. That was the status we reached in the valleys. Got a little higher in the mountains. We had a few trees down here and there. Most of them are kind of the hollow, rotted out ones that fall whenever the breeze blows anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but a nice opportunity for us to all kind of get back in the team coverage kind of mood before snow comes.
Yeah, definitely getting us back into that active time. So let's go to the far western part of our panelist coverage area. Is that a word, maybe? Let's go to Memphis, Tennessee. Eric, you guys also was able to see some effects of Irma as well.
Yeah, we're becoming the capital of where hurricanes die these days. After Harvey came through a couple of weeks ago, and now Irma. So even though we're several hundred miles from the coast, we get some of the same great weather you guys do. So the most interesting question I've gotten in the last couple of days is that really salt water falling out of the sky on us? So that's what we know about hurricanes here is very little. But it was nice to get some nice cool weather. Our daytime high yesterday was 62 degrees, broke the record for the day for the coolest maximum for the date. Got up to about 70 today, and it actually was not bad. We got wind gusts up as high as 20 miles per hour, so we were thankful for no trees down or anything like that. After we had Harvey a week and a half ago or so, there were a lot of questions about with this one coming. Well, is this going to be like we had last time when there were 40,000 power outages across the area? And fortunately not. So we're headed out of it tonight. Clouds clear out, and we'll be back up close to 90 this weekend. Not really looking forward to that, but maybe one last gasp of summer.
Hey, I want to take that summer heat and humidity. All I can take it, because before long it'll be cold and windy, and then I wish summer was back. So yeah. Thanks for that, Eric. I appreciate that, and I'm going to actually keep you around because one of our guests, I'll introduce one, and I'll let you introduce the other because he's kind of near and dear to you guys there in the Memphis area. I do want to bring in Bobby Stillwell. Bobby is a student at St. Louis University, meteorology student. Bobby, welcome to the show. First time being here.
Yeah, it's my first time being on any webcast, really, and it's been a fun experience thus far. It's always fun to hang out with some weather nerds and laugh about some of the crazy stuff we see.
Most definitely. We love doing that. We like to talk about weather. And Eric, I'll let you bring in our next guest because you and Alex work pretty closely together.
Yeah, I know Alex fairly well at this point. Alex is part of the Team MWN over here, memphisweather.net intern. He's also a meteorologist. He's already gotten his bachelor's degree in meteorology, working on his graduate degree down at Mississippi State, and I think headed towards the broadcast field if nobody scares him off before he gets there. So we're glad to have him on.
Run far away.
Voice of reason coming in from the back there. So welcome to the show tonight, Alex.
Thanks, Eric, and I'm impressed. You didn't say anything negative about my coverage on Memphis yet, so I'm gonna play nice for now with you. But
right.
Ricky, I was hoping you weren't gonna try and scare me away.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. So.
Well, gentlemen, yeah, we're happy to have you. So let's kind of start. What piqued your interest in weather? I mean, out of all the careers that you could have done or went to school for, what piqued you towards being a meteorologist in the weather community? Bobby, I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah, a good story about that. Living in St. Louis, we see it all. We see all the crazy weather, blizzards, tornadoes, thunderstorms, the whole 9 yards. And I just grew up with all that crazy weather, wanted to learn more about it, wanted to actually be a pilot for the longest time, so that was a little bit of aviation-related weather. And finally got to the point where I decided, it's going to be something, I want to get a career where I don't get canned if the economy goes south, So I decided, let's do weather. And then Joplin came through along with the Good Friday tornado, and I said, yep, I know I'm doing weather now. And that was more, I wanted to understand what happened with those events.
And Alex, what about you?
Well, for me, it started off when I was a lot younger. I started out, it was a day when I was homesick back in second grade, and just scrolling through the TV, just looking for something entertaining to watch, land on the Weather Channel, and end up watching that all day. So that kind of started piquing my interest. But then Hurricane Floyd came through. I'm originally from New Jersey, so that was a very important event for us where we saw a lot of flooding across central New Jersey. And being able to watch that from my back door was a very key moment for me. It was something that really clicked in my mind and said, hey, I really like this. I like being able to track hurricanes and be able to track severe weather and be able to explain to people what's going on and being able to tell them what's going to happen. It's a really cool opportunity that I've gotten, and I'm really happy to be able to pursue this.
And with that, we'll kind of cover this. I know, Bobby, you were talking about the Joplin tornado. Was there a particular event, maybe storm or maybe season that kind of really pushed you over the edge to say, yeah, I want to do that?
Yeah, it all began, we had a derecho blew through in 2006, actually a couple of them, July 19th, 06, July 21st, 06. Those two derechos blew through, knocked out power for a week across the St. Louis area. Damage I've never seen before or since, because usually my hometown's well protected thanks to the river. So that kind of piqued my interest. Went a few more years, then it was the Good Friday tornado of 2011, Joplin, and then I said after Joplin, yep, I know I want to do weather. And then from there, it's just blossomed into what you see now, sitting right here on this laptop.
I mean, for me, it was ultimately the 2005 hurricane season. That's what really sold me on how many different hurricanes and tropical cyclones that we saw that year. It was unbelievable to watch, to be able to see what's happening all over, well, not just the United States, but all over the Atlantic Basin, how many storms getting tracked. If there was ever a doubt in my mind about being able to pursue meteorology, what sold me on it for sure was Hurricane Sandy in 2012, because I was in New Hampshire at a small school called Holland State University. And I was watching from there as a very unique storm came into my home state. And I got to watch from a distance, be able to see the destructive power of that storm and be able to try and explain what was going on.
And so those storms kind of piqued your interest. And so going through middle school, high school, what was the process like? And ultimately, what led you to go to the university that you guys are attending right now?
I guess I'll go ahead and start here. Well, St. Louis is my backyard, so I kind of one nice thing about being here at SLU, I'm studying the weather I already know. And I'm sorry, repeat that full question, Scotty. I didn't catch it all.
Like, going through middle school, high school, was there any clubs, anything like that? Ultimately, as you're visiting or considering colleges, what led you to the university you guys are at now?
Okay, yeah. Good story for you. All right, story time. In middle school, I was so passionate about weather, I actually did a little podcast. I worked with one of our teachers over at my middle school, did a weather podcast. And back then it was me just averaging the 4 television stations in St. Louis and reporting that. So started off with that, took a couple years off. High school, I became a regular on our televised announcements doing the weather. And then when it came down to it, in all reality, the reason I picked SLU, they had the best financial aid offer for me.
That's understandable. Alex?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was dealing with a little technical issue here.
Yeah, no problem. So going through maybe middle school, high school, as you're leading up to your college career, do you have any stories or anything that kind of piqued your interest as you was going through middle and high school, and then what ultimately led you deciding to go to the university you're at?
Well, when I was in middle school and high school, I was that one person who always studied the weather. I was the other guy in my hometown. And then I was able to go to Plymouth State and get my undergrad, and I really was able to learn a lot from other people that had different experiences from different parts of the country, and be able to understand, well, it's not just me out here that's doing this, it's everyone who's really interested in weather. We're a very tight-knit group. And ultimately what led me down here to Mississippi State was being able to pursue that master's degree in broadcast meteorology at one of the best schools for it in the country.
Yeah, Mississippi State is known for their meteorology program. I'll open up to our panelists as well. You guys have any questions, feel free to jump in. One question I wanted to direct to both of you guys is, going through this process, we have a lot of students, high school and college, who are going into the meteorology field who watch our show. What suggestions would you have for them as they're trying to pick out that school they want to go to, or maybe even that career path in meteorology? If it's a broadcast journalism or maybe National Weather Service or private sector. What advice would you give to those who are listening tonight?
Yeah, freshman year, if you can get involved with your campus TV station or shadow people at the Weather Service, do a little bit of everything, figure out what you like. Do that over your freshman and sophomore years. And on top of that, just have fun doing what you do. Find something you love doing, because if you find a career in meteorology that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You're going to absolutely love it, and it will never seem like work. School-wise, for me, it was financial aid, but the SLU campus is absolutely beautiful, and I can get some pretty cool pictures, not only of campus, but also St. Louis and things like that, just sitting right here in the middle of Midtown. It's really cool. So a little bit of scenery, but at the same time, pick a school that has a good program and one where you're going to be able to actually talk to the faculty and your TAs and learn stuff.
Bobby's absolutely right. I think being able to find the right school is key, especially it depends on really just the person. There are great schools that have really big programs. There are great schools that have really small programs. So it's ultimately what you want out of it. It's your experience. If you're not passionate about the weather, then maybe this isn't the right direction for you. But if you are really passionate about the weather, if you think that this is something that you've studied for your entire life, professional meteorologist, then find that school that's right for you, whether that's a big school or a small school like Plymouth State or Linden State College. There's all kinds of options out there for you.
Cool. And Eric, do you have a question?
Sure. Yeah. I already have kind of introduced Alex as having an internship that kind of helps leading forward into his eventual career path. I want to ask the same thing of you, Bobby. Have you had opportunities to be able to practice what you're learning, whether it be through internships or maybe just things you do on the side personally or anything like that, to kind of help fine tune those skills as you go through school?
Yeah, in addition to learning from one of our retired meteorologists here at KSDK in St. Louis, I've been working with our campus TV station since freshman year, doing weather there, picking up skills. And I also recently just finished interning at KSDK here in St. Louis. It's our local NBC station. And their internship's pretty unique. Not only was I doing weather, I was doing stories for web, on the assignment desk, news, everything. They have you do everything. So you learn basically how to run a newsroom when you intern at a Tegna station. It was a great experience, lots of connections, no complaints at all.
Cool. And how far are you along in school now?
I'm actually a senior this year, so I'm already getting ready to get my resume tape finalized with KSDK footage and start sending it out.
Excellent. Very cool.
Guys, we have Craig CC is one of our followers here, and he's watching the podcast tonight. And he had a question kind of tied into what I was wanting to ask. He just want to know, is there anybody that you reach out to? And I want to kind of expand on that. Do you guys have any mentors in here? Anybody kind of you look up to, role models, mentors that's kind of helped you so far throughout your progress?
I guess I'll go ahead and go first. No, over at Channel 5, actually, I had a really cool, unique opportunity. Right at the end of my internship, I had the chief meteorologist as well as the 4 p.m. meteorologist, and he's been here for 20 years. I've had both of them say, if you want to come back and work more on your reel, just let us know. So it's really cool.
That's really great.
Yeah, I know I've got a great opportunity over there at Channel 5 where they want me to come back and do some more work down the road. Now, they are getting a new set right now, so I got to wait till that new set's ready, but then I'm going to have some fun over there with that. Mentor-wise, I had one of our anchors, Pat McGonigal. He's over in Kansas City now, which kind of really stunk because he was a mentor of mine. Like I said, that retired meteorologist, Mike Roberts, he's one of the people I look up to. He's the one that taught me how to do broadcast, for crying out loud. Always looked up to him because, I mean, I grew up watching that guy. It was really cool. But yeah, I can't think really any other real meteorology people outside our Met faculty or our or basically anybody on television here in St. Louis. I've been in talk with pretty much everybody at least at some point, one point or another, and they've all been really helpful.
It's a very similar situation for me. For someone like Craig CC for joining us, he's a public grad student here at MSU. So I had a great opportunity this summer to work with some meteorologists back in New York City, News 12 networks there, and I learned a lot from guys like and trusting because they really gave me my first opportunity to be in an actual newsroom and get to in front of the green screen, see how they were working in a large market, a relatively small station within a large market. But in terms of people that I've looked up to for a long time, definitely looked up to Jim Cantori for a very long time, as well as, of course, another meteorologist from New York, Chris Nino, who I had the opportunity to meet when I was in 5th grade. As a 5th grader getting to meet a meteorologist, I was over the moon when I got that opportunity.
Hey, Alex, a funny story for you, too. You talked about Cantor. I can never picture him without thinking of the thunder snow freak out.
I met him at a conference once, and he loves talking about those. He loves talking about it.
You know,
glad to hear that.
Bobby, you're talking about that. I've told numerous people, and probably the guys here on the panel know, you know, if I ever experience in Western North Carolina, we don't get many chances at snow, and we really don't get a lot of chances at thunder snow. So if I ever experienced that, I'd probably cut flips too, like Cantori. That was pretty cool. But you're talking about Alex going to a conference. Are you guys involved in any maybe clubs or anything like that on campus that gives you the opportunity to maybe go to AMS or NWA conferences or anything like that?
I'm very fortunate that I've had those opportunities throughout my time at school. I started out in my undergrad. I was very involved with our AMS chapter up at Plymouth, and I eventually became the president of the chapter up there. I got to go to a bunch of different conferences with them. That Linden State College was just over the mountains over in Vermont. Now for my time here at MSU, I'm now the president of the East Mississippi chapter of the NWA and AMS. So we're really involved. We've been doing a lot of great events here, and we are going to be holding a conference for our annual symposium coming up in March. So I'm looking forward to getting some more information out about that soon.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that, actually, because I know you guys had it last year. I was talking to Brendan Shaper. I'm really good friends with him. Talking to him about that. Yeah, I'm part of our student AMS chapter here at St. Louis U. I'm not on exec board, and I never have been, but I got to go to the 2015 conference in Oklahoma City. That was a blast, and it was really cool. On the way down, we actually stopped in Joplin at the memorial and kind of paid our respects. And there's obviously, Mother Nature has a really twisted sense of humor. Clear as a bell all the way to Joplin and from Joplin, but as soon as we got there, it clouded up, and we were kids in the playground. We were sitting there at the memorial. Yeah, it was kind of a somber scene, kind of a twisted sense of humor there. But anyway, yeah, great conference, met lots of great people, talked to some great people down there. I actually learned quite a bit while I was at that conference. So it was a great experience. And if there's any students out here that are watching this right now, go to the conferences. There's student sessions, there's mentoring. It's a great experience. And beyond that, if you go with a group, you get to have fun and bond with your group too. I bonded with a bunch of our grad students and undergrad students at Oklahoma City. And I still, talk to those people to this day.
That is fantastic advice coming from Bobby. I'm going to back up just a bit. My question has a little bit more to do going back into your studies with meteorology. I'm hearing a little bit more and more in programs for BA degrees, for BS degrees, for concentrations meteorology, that they're starting to sort of incorporate forecasting into the meteorology degrees, and along with that, with operational forecasting and broadcast meteorology, which I know that's kind of on the same wavelength but on a separate track. Tell me about your experiences with your actual forecasting that you're doing while you're going through school, because I know a lot of these classes don't do that. You have to sort of do that on your own. So talk about your experiences with actual operational forecasting in your field. I'll start with you, Alex.
Well, I've had a lot of opportunities already to work with them. We have 2 great classes in forecasting here taught by Greg Nordstrom, who's a very good man to be able to learn forecasting from. And while I am not currently in that class, I know him very well, and he does a great job teaching our students about all the different techniques that you really need to be able to put together a good weather forecast. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to put together some of the forecasts for Memphis WeatherNet for Eric, and he's been very kind to being able to allow me to do that. And I've also worked part-time for a small company back in New Jersey where I've been doing some forecasting called Spot on Weather, and opportunities to do it, and I'm looking forward to continuing to use those going forward to perfect my skills.
All right, and for you, Bobby?
Yeah, and over here in St. Louis, what I've done, I really go ham on social media. I've got a really large social media presence, and what I do, I always post forecasts like for game days and things like that. I work with athletics, pull some of their pictures into my forecasts, and I just go through using what I've learned about model biases, the climate here in St. Louis, some of the topography effects. It's just as class keeps going through and I keep learning more and more, I incorporate that in there and my forecasting gets better. So technically, I haven't done any paid operational forecasting. It's all been either campus TV or my own personal pages that I've done the actual forecasting for. But it gives me experience because I look at it and I can start saying, okay, what did I get burned by the GFS again? Something like that.
So yeah, you're obviously you're probably reading the forecast area discussions, which, as many meteorologists know, that's Greek or a foreign language to the average Joe in public. So translating that to the public, if you go by FADs or if you go by your own forecast, I like to kind of go by my own, then compare it to the FAD after I've put everything together. Just sort of a daily test. Is that something that you like to try to practice, or how do you practice your forecasting before you go live with, like, say, you're going through your studies, you're learning more, and all of a sudden you say, I want to do some forecasting. So what do you do first?
Yeah, usually what I end up doing, normally what I'll do, and I picked up a lot of this stuff at Channel 5 over the summer, so my forecasting's really changed between the spring and the fall here. Channel 5, I learned, the first thing I'd usually do, look at the currents, and I usually go through and look at previous model runs to see if there's any biases in the models that are going on at that point. Then I take that into account when I run my forecast, forecast temperature, sky, et cetera, the whole 9 yards. And then I look at the AFD or the Weather Service forecast and see where I may have gone wrong or something like that, or where, our thoughts diverge.
Very similar process for me to what Bobby's talking about, because we start off with the currents. It's very important for, at least to me, to be able to understand what's going on right now and how that's going to impact what goes on in the future. So having an idea of what's the current satellite picture, what's the radar saying, what are we looking at in terms of temperatures, where we are, and then going from there, going through the different layers of the atmosphere, finding out what's going on with vorticity at 500 millimeters, what's going on with the jet stream of the 250, and then being able to look at the models, get a better idea of what they're going to be talking about.
We have a question. I was just reading it. Sorry about that awkward pause there for a second. JP watching tonight, he's wanting to talk about, I'm not sure if he's in school or not, but he mentioned something about the weather challenge and want to know if you guys maybe at your schools partook in the weather challenge, and maybe even talk a little bit how challenging that may be forecasting for different cities throughout the country.
Well, I mean, I did the forecasting challenge when I was an undergrad. I haven't had the opportunity to do it here at MSU yet, but it was definitely a challenge when I was an undergrad because I didn't have nearly the amount of forecasting experience I do now. And trying to be able to pin down things like, Buffalo, New York, and, in spring, whether it's going to be 30 and freezing and snow, or maybe even like 50 degrees and sunny, it's going to be a very big challenge. So it was a little bit rough at times, but it was definitely a fun experience.
Bobby?
Yeah, and Weather Challenge. It's funny. We've had a little bit of disarray in our department, so we haven't done it for the last 2 years. Wait, we did a freshman and sophomore year. We didn't do it last year. We aren't going to be doing it this year again. There's just some disarray in the department where we can't get stuff figured out. But the 2 years I did do it, it was so challenging because I was a sophomore. I didn't know, model biases or anything like that at that point. So it was really challenging for me just as an underclassman to understand, what I was really doing. So it was a challenge. It was a big challenge for me. And even now, knowing what I know after Channel 5 and all that stuff, it still would be a challenge to forecast because you don't know the topography effects or anything like that. Not to mention, you have to know where the station actually is, where they're taking this data from. And yes, I've gotten burnt by that before as well.
Well, don't forget, even when you go out into the field in St. Louis, you'll have Weather Rate. We just had a gentleman from Weather Rate on a couple of weeks ago rating individual weather stations in cities. So it's never over. It's never over.
No, there was a little bit of talk of that when I was over at Channel 5, the Weather Rate stuff.
You're talking about challenges, Bobby, and this is for both you and Alex. Obviously, school is a challenge. Talk about maybe some of the classes that maybe you've had to put a little extra effort into. Maybe it's kind of at times made you think, why am I choosing this career? Just talk about your everyday school life and the classes and challenges you face there.
One class has made me question this stuff. Differential equations. That is the one class that has made me question this major multiple times. I'm through it now, thankfully. I survived with my sanity intact. But that's probably the one class related to meteorology that's actually made me, question, am I doing the right thing by doing this? Which I am. I know I am now. But some of the core classes here at SLU are kind of silly, too, for us. Like, we have to take philosophy, theology. What are some of the other silly ones? There's a number of silly classes because we're a liberal arts college. So you have to deal with that as well as taking perhaps one of the most difficult majors in all of college life. Typically, I'm actually on 3 different organization executive boards. I'm sports editor for a campus paper. Chief meteorologist, treasurer, technical director for campus TV, and I'm also the social media VP for our superfans here. So you can tell I'm pretty darn involved here on top of taking meteorology and all that stuff. But it all factors into doing broadcast because social media is a huge part of broadcast nowadays.
I want to bring up social media in just a second, but go ahead. Go ahead, Shay.
I was just going to say he should hook up with Matt Reagan of Florida State.
Already have.
Good, good.
And Matt's a good guy. And Alex, what about you? I mean, I know you're going down through your doctorate or, going further on. Talk to us about the challenges of that, just that in itself.
Well, first, I agree with Bobby absolutely on the challenges of differential equations. That was not fun going through in undergrad. But I think the one that sticks out to me the most was being able to go through synoptic meteorology. And when you first see the quasi-geostrophic equations get written up on the board, and they take up the entire length of the board, that scares a lot of people. So I fortunately survived it, and I now have grown to love looking at those equations. But that was probably the scariest course for me at the end of the day. But yeah, grad school is a very different animal actually, because you're not only having to worry about your classes, but a lot of times you're going to be a teaching assistant or graduate assistant. So you have additional responsibilities that you have to balance. Because I'm teaching over in the Department of Communications right now. I teach the ATV production labs. So I have to be able to balance my schoolwork along with my students' schoolwork to be able to make sure that we're both really succeeding here.
Bobby, you mentioned social media, and this is a question I want to bring to you guys because you've grown up in the social media, era per se. I think I was like right on. I was still there during social media age. I know Ricky was, but for maybe Shay and Eric and Jared, back when they were in their early 20s, we didn't have social media around. So, what do you think social media's impact is on weather? Just in general, and how do you think social media is going to shape the way that we do our jobs 2-3 years down the road?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go with this. I've actually been watching a lot of the Weather Brains episodes recently, and Kevin Selly's been making some great points about small market stations. You're going to see a lot more where these small market stations are going to outsource their news. And so that's kind of going to take away the local meteorologists and the local impact. One of the things I absolutely hate about social media, and most meteorologists do, It's all these people who look, at the 10-day model run and share that as if it's going to be gospel. That makes our job a lot harder, and it makes people think, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. This happened again and again with Irma. And that's kind of one of the problems I have with social media. Yeah, it's a great thing. Like if there's a warning, you can tweet it out instantly, and there it is. But at the same time, it's double-edged sword in a way too, because you've got the people who look at the models and say that's gospel. 2 or 3 years down the road, I don't think we're going to see, the consolidation that Sully thinks we're going to see 2 to 3 years down the road. And I don't think he does either. But social media, it's going to become more, I think we're going to be doing more Facebook Lives, Periscopes, things like that with social media. And that's going to be your newscast or your forecast. We already saw that. KHOU, Channel 11 in Houston, their studios flooded during Harvey. They were Facebook Living everything while they were moving to a new space and getting their transmitter back up. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
I agree with Bobby on a lot of those issues. The consolidation issue of small markets is going to be a huge issue, especially where I am here in Mississippi. We're wedged in that Columbus, Tupelo kind of market where we have a small market, very small stations here, and with the consolidation of everything, it's possible you'll see small markets like these continue to outsource their information, because we're already seeing that in a couple of areas. And that's very concerning for people who are trying to get into the business. But I think that weather has an incredible amount of value to a news station. And I think that most people recognize that when people tune in to the news, yes, the news has become very, very negative to a lot of people in recent months, recent years. But they got to tune in for the weather. They got to know what they're going to be doing tomorrow, if they need to grab that umbrella or if they need to wear that jacket. So we're fortunate that we have a business that really, we can't be replaced by a robot or by a computer completely, because we're going to need to be able to create those forecasts and be able to put in that human touch to it. Now, in terms of social media, I think we're already seeing that transition of so much of it, like Facebook Lives and Periscopes and Instagram and all these different accounts. Has really turned our jobs from being on the air and then turning off our meteorologist side to a 24/7, 365 kind of position. You're going to be getting questions at all hours of the day, and you really can't turn it off at this point. So you have to be able to pretty much at all times.
Yeah, and sorry, I was going to cut in here with Alex real quick. Despite what IBM thinks, you still need a human to do a forecast.
Oh, absolutely. You have those people that still believe that they can completely rely on their mobile apps and just not listen to the meteorologists that are out there. But you need to be able to listen to us. I have people that will walk around and say, "Oh, but my app was wrong." Well, maybe you should have talked to us and listened to what we were saying.
No, it's like, I can't remember what meteorologist it was. One of the broadcasts met somewhere said, "Yeah, but that app's not going to pay for your college, is it?"
I remember that. I think that's a guy. I think he's out of Atlanta that said that. To kind of tie into that, and then Eric's got a question after this. We're talking about social media. You guys are in school right now, taking classes. Are they in school right now teaching you maybe the most effective ways to communicate via social media or anything like that? Is that something that you guys are seeing now, or are we still maybe not talking about that in your meteorology or your broadcast classes yet?
Yeah, crazily enough, there's a class in our roster here at SLU where it asks about, effective communicating science effectively to the public. It's not being offered, though, because it was a cross-listed course with our comm department and the faculty that used to do it between our MET department and our comm department. They've both left, so we haven't been able to offer that class in a while, and that's kind of why it's a good thing I picked up the communication minor, because I've tailored it towards journalism, and I've learned, a lot about effective communication. And I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who, about, what I've learned in the comm department and how I've learned basically through looking at Harvey and Irma, the best way to communicate information and say, this is going to happen. Oh, it was a Twitter conversation the other day. Duh. Now I remember what it was. I can't remember with who, but yeah, it's important. Go, Alex. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're completely right. And I'm kind of sad to hear that you're not getting that class offered, because, it's an integral part of our broadcast practicum course here. And it's great that you're doing the communications minor, because if there's a minor out there that I can encourage people to go out and get, it's a communications minor, because a lot of times when you start out in the broadcast meteorology, you're going to be doing some side reporting as well. You're going to be able to engage journalists in small markets. You're going to go out during the week and have to report on stories. So in your back pocket, because it's always good to be able to diversify and have other options that you can go to. In terms of your question, Scotty, our social media integration with our classes is very weak. Because, for example, this week, as part of our practicum course where we're in front of the green screen here at MSU, we were required to do a Periscope on Twitter where we had about 5 minutes to be able to present the weather to our followers. It's something that I think everyone here has really taken full grasp of.
Very cool.
Cool, that's good. So one final question for you guys, since you're both going into broadcast and looking to the future in that field. For each of you, what would be your dream job once you get to, say, the pinnacle of your broadcast career? Where would you like to end up, and how do you see yourself at that point in your career?
Chief meteorologist at a TV station here in St. Louis. I love the community here in St. Louis. I love the market. I love the variety of the weather. I don't want to be, in San Francisco where it's, 70 and sunny all the time and, an occasional hurricane comes in, I want to have variety in what I do. I want to have a little bit of a challenge because it makes it interesting to go to work during the day,
Very cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely like the challenge of it. And I love being down here in Mississippi, and I love the idea of a sport, and it's certainly something I want to start off. I'd love to get back to the Northeast ideal place. Be a chief meteorologist at a big market like New York or Philadelphia or Boston, because home.
Yeah. Plus, the money's a lot better than Mississippi. Just call it straight.
That's the truth.
Hey, Bobby, I was going to tell you, if St. Louis isn't there, we have all 4 seasons in a week here in North Carolina. I mean, come on down. I promise you, it is never boring here. You can definitely have fun forecasting the wedge. Last question for you guys as we kind of end this part of the program. Like we said earlier, we have a lot of students, a lot of in high school and college. What is your words of wisdom? If you had to share one thing to students getting ready to go through the process or just now in the process, what is your words of wisdom? What do you think they need to know as they go into this career?
Yeah, I've got 2 big pieces of advice. Take advantage. If your high school offers dual enrollment credit where you can get credit for your classes while you're in high school, take advantage of that. I had 36 hours to transfer when I started at SLU. So I actually was registering a year ahead of everybody else, and I'm able to be at minimum credit hours for full-time this whole year because I worked my tail off to get here. Second part, take all the math you can. Even if your high school offers calculus, take calculus. And make sure you take physics as well because it's going to be vital to have that background as you head into any meteorology program. And I'm pretty much echoing our meteorology program guide here at SLU. We literally say the same exact thing on there about it's all about algebra, calculus, physics in high school.
I'm going to echo pretty much what Bobby just said on that last point because math and physics are very integral to a lot of the meteorology programs. And I know that's something that they're pushing a lot of different universities around the country. Because at Plymouth and at MSU, foundation in math and physics, whether you're operational or broadcast. And while some may try and take the easy way out of taking less math classes or less physics classes, it's important for you to be able to take those because you're going to a station where you might be the only one. So you're going to be their scientist for a lot of things. So you got to be prepared to be able to take on a lot of different opportunities. And speaking of that, my second point is definitely take advantage of every opportunity that you get. If you get the opportunity to be involved in a local AMS chapter, NWA chapter, you got to go for it because those are a great opportunity to be able to make connections in the field, be able to expand yourself as a meteorologist, and be able to get some additional skills. You may be able to get spotter trained. You may be able to get some work on your resume, or even an internship or talking to people. And finally, you got to go find an internship once you get into college. That's kind of a pathway at this point to being able to find your radio station. If you don't have an internship, it becomes much more difficult for you to be able to make that next step. So make sure you find that when you get to college.
Yeah, Alex, you mentioned becoming the scientist for everything. That actually happened to me at my internship because we're all hyping for the eclipse. And there was one day, all 4 of us interns were sitting around one of the computers, and they asked me, "So why can't we look at the sun without eclipse glasses?"
Mm-hmm. The eclipse is not necessarily a meteorological event, but that is those are the people that they rely on. They rely on the meteorologists for what we were talking about in the eclipse.
And Alex forgot to mention that you should really be proficient at gifting too, to make sure that you become a gift king in your market.
Yes, Eric is completely right because I've become one of the gift kings on Memphis weather, and we are the reigning champs over Nash Severe WX, and I know that they are going to come after Eric and I for that, but we are the reigning champs.
Very cool. Well, guys, we want you to stick around, but we are just a little bit past 9 o'clock, and we wanted to get to tweets of the week, and Shay is going to update us on the tropics. So before we do that, please, if you don't mind, or if you don't want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can share your social media accounts or a way some of our followers can maybe get a hold of you if they want to.
Yep, it's easy for me. On all my social media accounts have the same exact usernames on it. Stillwell, Stillwell, weather, as in the meteorological weather. And that's my handle on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So it's easy to find me. You can just find one, you find them all.
Kind of the same way here. It's all the same on all the different accounts. Alex Herbst, WXHERBST. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Very cool, guys. Thanks for joining us. And if you want, stick around for tweet of the week. But before we do that, let's toss it to Shay right quick. Shay, we want to get our weekly tropics talk. It feels like annual, doesn't it? Our weekly tropics talk. Go ahead and give us the lowdown on Jose.
Well, let's see. We are watching Jose. There is some inclination for the system to head towards the southeast coast, but we do think it's going to recurve. Just a friendly reminder out there that the hurricane season is still in full swing, right? So September the 10th was the peak day of the season, and we've seen a very active tropical Atlantic. In fact, at one point we had Katiana, we had Irma, and we had Jose all at one time in all three areas of the tropical Atlantic basin. We continue through on September the 13th, still active. This is the 8 p.m. update. Jose winds at 75 miles per hour. Pressure 988, heading south at 3 miles per hour. It's not moving very much at all. It's really just sort of meandering around an area of high pressure located just north of Bermuda. And it's also encountering some upper shear. Note these two other areas over here now. We still have an active tropical Atlantic ongoing, so we still have to monitor two more areas of disturbance heading across the main development region. This is more lower along the intertropical convergence zone or the monsoonal trough zone. So these merit watching over the next several days. So don't take your eyes off of the tropical Atlantic right now. Here's the track for Jose. This is from the 5 p.m. update. I'm sure this will probably change at the 11 p.m. update. But you can see the track generally takes it to the southwest and then up to the north and to the northeast in time. And we do suspect that some of these effects may reach out along the coast. There's a very small chance for tropical storm force winds, but we may see an extended gradient actually reach the outer banks and maybe to the mid-Atlantic, maybe parts of northern or southern North Carolina, all the way up through the mid-Atlantic. So all these areas need to be on the watch for an increasing wind field, maybe a northeast to east-northeast or even east wind field starting on Friday and into this weekend. One thing to keep in mind here is that the long period swell action is going to be arriving this weekend along the Carolina coast and all the way up to the mid-Atlantic. So you'll be seeing increasing waves for all the surfers. It's a good thing, but also the moderate risk for rip currents is up for many National Weather Service offices. So always check with your local NWS offices on the coast to see what the rip current forecast is going to be. It looks like that is solid through Tuesday of next week at least with this system. So yeah, just another example. Looking at Jose right here, and then we see another wave, tropical wave coming up over here to the right. This is coming off of Africa. Well off of Africa, but now one behind it. And just a reminder, the season is not over yet. Back to you, Scotty.
Thanks, Shay. And we're going to go to our tweets of the week. I do want to say, Jared, I don't think he's going to be able to share one. James Brierton is out tonight. He's doing some other things. And so Jared voluntarily said that he would do our Facebook Live and Periscope, and obviously we thank him for that, but it's kind of bogging his computer down, so I don't think he's going to be able to share that tonight, but we'll maybe let him retweet it on our page, and you can see his tweet of the week as well. So let's go to, let's see, Eric, you have your tweet of the week pulled up? Because I'm getting ready to get mine, but I'm not ready yet.
Sure. Yeah, I can pull it up. And yeah, there was just, you could pick from hundreds this week. There's just so much out there that that was worthy. But I'm actually going to share an article that I saw, and it was tweeted out. And so that's where the tweet comes in. But being an aviation meteorologist for a major airline as well, I found this story rather interesting. And this was the story behind Delta Flight 431, which if you were following. This was right before. Here's Puerto Rico right down here. This was right before Irma moved in, and it was the last flight to get in and out of San Juan. Read the story on the Washington Post today. Really interesting story there about how they planned ahead, and basically you can see the track of the plane there. Flew in between the just ahead of Irma, and then flew out between the feeder band and the main storm. They turned that airplane in San Juan in, I think, 41 minutes. 173 passengers that got on the plane and safely back to JFK right before the storm hit. So just a fascinating account, and they talk about Delta Meteorology there and their role, and really cool story. So check that out on the Washington Post if you get a chance.
Very cool. Yeah, we were wondering about who that crazy person was, but obviously they had a plan.
There was definitely a plan.
All right. Well, here's my tweet of the week. This is how we do hurricanes or tropical systems in Western North Carolina. You guys see this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So this was recorded on Mount Mitchell. We had a wind gust of over 80 miles per hour, which is really nothing for Mount Mitchell. But I did want to show you the temperature. This was September the 11th. Can you guys see that temperature? 42 degrees. 42 degrees. While Tropical Storm Irma gave us her effects here on Western North Carolina. 42 degrees with a wind gust of 80 miles per hour. I don't know what that wind chill is, but I would have not wanted to be up there. So.
Is that Mount Mitchell or Mount Washington? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, right? Jeez. That's almost like Hogback Mountain, South Carolina. I wonder what the wind speeds are there. I'll have to go back and take a look. All right, so apologies to the watchers. I thought I had been sharing my screen earlier, talking about the tropics. I did not. I'll just check. Shay Gibson weather flow. I'll put some things up there. My share of the week, or tweet of the week, is this one right here from National Weather Service Charleston. Let me know when you can see this one.
We got you.
All right, good. So you won't leave me hanging like last time. Good deal.
Well, we didn't want to interrupt you.
Whoa. Yeah, I know. You didn't want to interrupt. You just let me go on and on.
We did type it in our little chat over here, Shay.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to pay attention while you're talking. But this one comes from the NASA Earth Observatory, before and afters for the Caribbean islands. So you can see St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. Boy, I tell you, just green and vegetative in the state before, as of August 25th, September 10th. You can see how Hurricane Irma stripped them of all their vegetation. I'm sure that they're going to be slow to recover from the storm, but that is the huge environmental impact the storm has had to those islands. It will take some time for recovery, but you can see just how damaging it was. That's it for me, Scotty.
All right, Ricky, do you have one? I know you're kind of remote tonight. maybe not. All right, we'll bypass Ricky for right now. Bobby, do you have one?
Still pulling it up right now, actually.
Okay, we'll toss it to Alex right quick. Alex?
Yeah, so here, let me just get the screen share working here, and we will talk a little bit about what the National Weather Service people were doing during the storm. We have a great tweet here from Taylor Trogdon of where he was sleeping during the hurricane. He works at the National Hurricane Center's Storm Surge Unit, and you see he was kind of sleeping under his desk, but that just shows the dedication of the people at the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center during Irma, and all the offices that really contributed to being able to keep people informed across the Sunshine State and all the way through the Southeast. Because this was definitely something that took a lot of manpower and a lot of hours to be able to keep on making sure that people were going to be safe.
Yeah, that was. I saw that tweet earlier this week, and just want to give thanks to all the men and women of the National Weather Service. I know a lot of them actually flying in from different parts around the country to come help out. So our appreciation is granted to them, and we thank them for what they're doing.
Hey, Scotty, I've got some breaking news.
Uh-oh, we need breaking news music.
The Taylor Trogdon tweet is very timely. If everything works out, we will have him on the show here in early October. He's with the Storm Surge Unit there at the Hurricane Center, and he could tell us all about the experiences that he's had here in the last week or so. So anyway, there's a little tease.
Awesome. Good.
I planned it or something.
And I didn't even tell you to say that.
Listen, that's how you Memphis folk work, huh? I see how it is.
We're always in unison.
All right, Bobby.
Second bottom line.
Okay, I got mine here. It's basically, it's an image of it's that image that everybody's gone out and shown of what it looks like before and after the hurricane. You can see the power cuts and everything going on. That's kind of a very powerful image showing you what actually happened and the impacts of it.
Yeah, that was a touching image that they shared there. And as all of us here on the group, we extend our prayers and thoughts to all the families in Florida and throughout the Caribbean who have felt the effects of Irma, and even for those folks who are still cleaning up from Harvey in the Texas area. So we're thinking about you guys, and hope that a speedy recovery and everybody gets back on their feet really quickly. So again, our thoughts are with those folks. So guys, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Talk about next week's show right quick before we sign off. We have the folks from Crowd Hydrology on. They will be joining us to talk about, they have like a stream gauge system, like a Mesonet program, but it's flood gauges. So they're going to be joining us next week to talk about their program, and it's a fairly new program. So how that program is getting off of the ground and getting going. And I'm trying to pull up my schedule so I can talk about the next week's show, and my computer is being slow. So I'm stretching. Let's see. Where's it at? There it is.
So like our Wi-Fi.
That's right. And then on the 27th of September, we're going to be talking with, Trevor Boucher. Yeah. Boucher. He's going to be talking to us about how to effectively communicate weather information with a diverse population. So Trevor will be with us on the 27th, and then we're going to have the guys from Crowd Hydrology on with us next week. And then, like Eric talked to you about, we have guests already lining up for October as well. So excited about that. And Bobby and Alex, we appreciate once again you guys coming on. You're more than welcome to join us anytime you want. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Thanks, Eric, for being nice to me today.
You're welcome.
All right. And Alex, don't let Eric work you too hard over there, okay? All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday night, September 20th, with Crowd Hydrology. Have a good one.